15 NBA executives were asked to rank the top players in the NBA under the age of 25, and particularly Scottie Barnes' position in this list has stirred up some controversy across the NBA. So I'm going to break down this list entirely with you guys, take a look at Scottie's position and see if he's rightly ranked amongst his peers as top young stars in the NBA. Additionally, Fred VanVleet spoke out about his 2K rating, and it's pretty ugly there for a lot of Raptors players, so we'll dive into that and a whole lot more in this video. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors guy, just breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news. And folks, we're marching our way to 26,000 subscribers, right? We're back, ready to push on the gas as we inch closer to this regular season. So definitely, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest Toronto Raptors news, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out big time. But we got some interesting stuff to dive into in this video. And the first thing we're discussing, as mentioned in the intro, is how Scottie Barnes was named amongst a top young player to build around in the NBA. So for people that haven't seen the list, aren't familiar with it, Hoops Hype, not semi-annually, they drop occasionally a list where they ask NBA executives across the league and say, hey, where would you rank the top young players in the NBA? And you look back at them at times and you say, some of them are questionable. And the last time they did this list was back in January, and Scottie Barnes was nowhere to be found on this list. He wasn't there. Guys like Bam and Adebayo were, right? Evan Mobley did make his way on that list, so it wasn't like any rookies weren't looked at in favor in that front. So it was an interesting spot. But recently, the past couple days, they released the article again with updated sort of opinions from these NBA executives, and Scottie Barnes has certainly shot up the list. So rather than just giving my roundabout takes, and we'll run through this list together. So I got the article pulled up here on the old phone, getting weird with the 3D, and you can see it. NBA executives poll, right? You can see the headline capture, the hook, and obviously at number one, Luka Doncic just made the Western Conference Finals. It's fair to say that Luka Doncic should be ahead of Scottie Barnes at this point and all that sort of stuff. And same thing with Jason Tatum at number two. Trying to build around guys, you want to go with a more established product. We don't have to dive into any controversy there. Ja Morant, once again, playoff proven, has led a team to tops in the Western Conference. Scottie Barnes still has to do more to establish his position over those guys, even though Scottie Barnes does have remarkable potential. But here's where the list starts getting a little bit dicey in terms of debates and all that sort of stuff. And at 4, it's Evan Mobley. Now, I'm not one of those Raptors fans that loves to bag on Evan Mobley, say, oh, he's trash, Scottie Barnes beat him in Rookie of the Year race, yada, yada, yada. If Evan Mobley was drafted to the Raptors, we'd love him. Scottie Barnes has a more fun personality and all that sort of stuff. Might be a little bit more fun to watch at this point. Evan Mobley's fun on the defensive end and all that, but we love him a lot if he was in Toronto, so I completely get it. Masai Ujiri really wanted him bad. I gotta make sure I don't flip this phone there. But, Evan Mobley at 4, ahead of Scottie Barnes? It's debatable. Scottie Barnes did edge him out in Rookie of the Year race, so let me know if you guys think it makes more sense to have him at this point in their careers as a player you'd rather build around. And another one, Anthony Edwards, he looked really good in the playoffs this most recent season. Obviously, had a bit of controversy surrounding him, but I get why NBA executives want him in there. He's a big name attraction. He's exciting for fans to watch as a fun game. And again, it's easier to say you'd rather build around guys that have more of a body of work across the league rather than projecting potential, which we are still doing right now with Scottie Barnes. And this offseason does look promising, but I'm not mad at Anthony Edwards being higher there. And this one could get a few Raptors fans in a tizzy because a guy that didn't really play last season. Now, when he does play, Zion Williamson is absolutely ridiculous. He is a monster. He's a unit. He's an All-NBA first-team caliber player. The level of action he's put up in the one season we got to see of Zion playing full proper basketball, but didn't play all last season. Injuries are a question mark. So at 6, it's tough to really gauge. It's tough to really judge where Zion Williamson is at. So I'm not frustrated by any of these guys being ahead of Scottie Barnes right now at this point. I'd personally have Scottie ahead of Mobley just because he won the Rookie of the Year race. His team was better last season. He had an impact and lesser role, but I digress. I can see why people like the potential of Mobley. And this is where we come to our guy, Scottie Barnes. And as you can see, previous ranking, none available because he wasn't ranked the last time he was there. But Scottie Barnes obviously inching up. His end of the season last year was absolutely remarkable. We're seeing what he's been doing over the summer. Scottie Barnes is going to be elite. We've been raving about him this entire off season, right? Just his growth and what he can project to be going into this year. So I think this is a fair ranking for Scottie Barnes. And we'll look at the players he's ahead of, because a few people are a little bit frustrated by him being ahead of some more established guys. And the next one is LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is obviously one of the biggest names in basketball just because of he's flashy, his dad, people have been watching him forever, and I get it. So I get why fans are a big fan of him, and won Rookie of the Year himself a couple seasons ago, but defense was a question mark, couldn't really get his team outside the play-in, struggled in those big games. I know he can pass, he can shoot, he's a big box office attraction, but I'm putting Scottie Barnes ahead of LaMelo Ball. I'm in that boat in this ranking, but this is the one I've seen people most frustrated about, and it's Trae Young being below Scottie Barnes himself, because Trae Young did lead a team to the Eastern Conference Finals just a couple seasons back. I know their team underperformed last year. This wasn't Trae Young's fault. One of the best, especially offensive players in the entire NBA, can facilitate, can score, and is a negative on defense. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but I can see why just at this point in their careers, I'd still project, and I get why build around. This is, if you're using that terminology in terms of ranking players, Scottie Barnes could be looked at ahead of Trae Young, and I'd probably rather have Scottie Barnes at his age, just given his potential, right? Just take the risk, take a risk on the personality, and you're betting on a guy that's going to grow, that wants to work hard, and already has those physical tools. But Trae Young, he's getting slept on this list. He should be ahead of guys like definitely LaMelo. Should be there ahead of LaMelo. Just when you look at establishedness and stuff, I know there's a ceiling for smaller guards that can't play defense, but he's already at a place that's extremely high. So I see where it's coming from, even though I'd probably pick Scottie. And another all-star last season, Darius Garland, who was really good for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Similar arguments to Trae Young. He's not as good as Trae Young, and defensive question marks are there with Darius Garland himself. If you're not ranking Trae Young ahead of Scottie Barnes, you definitely can't rank Darius Garland on that front, and I couldn't make a clear argument as to why I'd rather have... Darius Garland had a better season than Scottie Barnes last year. Same with Trae Young, same with probably LaMelo Ball when you look at the stats, but you're projecting who you want to build around, what they could grow into, and Scottie Barnes has already proven that he has the intangibles to be a two-way star in this NBA at worst, right? And then, obviously, Detroit fans are going to be mad because Cade Cunningham is coming in below a lot of guys on this list, and even though Cade had a cold start to last season, really played well at the end of last year, but again, Cade is not at the level as a two-way player just yet when compared to Scottie Barnes and Evan Mobley. Now, we'll see how he is coming into this year. It's probably a bit more of a polished scorer, but other than that, doesn't do anything out there on the court better than Scottie Barnes. So this is where Cade's going to be ranked until he proves otherwise coming into this year, and Scottie's improving that jump shot as well. So I get Cade's ranking below those guys. Jalen Green had a hot end to last season, but definitely should be ranked below all these players. I think Shea is grossly underrated at this point, but if your team is sitting you out for the second half of seasons, you can't really blossom into a guy that, I think Shea should be higher on this list, but I'm cool with Scottie being ahead of him there. Tyrese Halliburton, I thought it was wild that he got traded from the Kings, but Halliburton's not in the conversation of a Scottie Barnes. So that's the list. Let me know in the comment section below if you think Scottie Barnes is too high, too low on that list, and if all the question marks surrounding it are warranted. But there's also some questionable things coming out, and more Raptors fans are frustrated about this on this front, and it's in line with Fred VanVleet's comments, his takes on NBA 2K. So if there's a quote coming from Fred VanVleet. Essentially, he was rated 83 overall in this year's game of NBA 2K, and he essentially said, I don't F with 2K, so I'm cool. Essentially just writing off the rating, writing off the game, saying it's a bit of nonsense, it doesn't really matter, and people have been frustrated about Raptors ratings for a very long time. Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan were notoriously, right, Raptors legends, underrated by 2K rating games and stuff. Can never crack 90 despite DeMar DeRozan being an elite scorer, Kyle Lowry being one of the best facilitators, playmakers, floor generals in basketball. Can never crack 90 even though they were top seed in the Eastern Conference year after year, and a lot of just straight up worse players were ranked ahead of those guys. And similarly, Pascal Siakam always gets butchered in ratings, and now after Fred VanVleet was an all-star this most recent season, he's getting ranked an 83 overall. Now, just to put some context into these ratings, right? Oh, 83, what does that really mean? It's just a number. Time Lord Robert Williams on the Boston Celtics was ranked an 85. We really put in 85 or 86 or something. I believe it's 85, but a few points ahead of Fred VanVleet. We really ranking Robert Williams higher in terms of value than Fred? That's just utter nonsense. And honestly, you look at the entire Raptors sort of 2K ratings, they're still shoddy. They're still not looking too hot, right? Pascal Siakam the highest at 86 overall. The number to the farthest left for each player is their overall rating, right? Siakam at 86, Scottie Barnes at 84, Fred VanVleet at 83. So Fred's our third best player according to the rankings. And I guess if you're projecting Scottie Barnes' growth, I don't mind that situation. OG only at 81, and then probably the grossest there at Gary Trent Jr. at 78. Absolutely disgusting. And then Precious Achiuwa, after his remarkable playoff performance, down there only at 76. Chris Boucher at 76. Just to put some context into big men there as well, Andre Drummond's like a 78, 79 in this game. So we really put in Precious Achiuwa 2 spots below Andre Drummond? Andre Drummond, right? A guy that's been bouncing around bottom leagues, is unplayable at times during NBA possessions. We're really putting him down below Andre Drummond. Essentially, they're equating his value to Gary Trent Jr. Like, this is utter cheese, utter nonsense. Otto Porter Jr., right? A guy that just won a championship, was a key integral piece to an NBA championship, only a 76. And then you got Thaddeus Young, ranked below Khem Birch. And then they're doing our guys dirty on the deep bench. And Malachi Flynn's pretty high. Delano Banton, I think those guys are fair. But Koloko, after his summer league, only a 70. You're giving him bronze offense? I don't know. That's a 3-point shot. Koloko's been working on that 3-point shot. Why you got him as a bronze? I want him at least 99 3-point shot. And then Jeff Doughton down there at only 67. That's just gross. That's just disgusting. So that's that's our overall rankings. But when you compare them to other guys across the league, there's some weird comparisons if you're trying to do 1v1 with players. But the Raptors, they usually grow as the season goes along. As Fred VanVleet, we're not effing with 2K. We're not effing with those ratings. So it's Fred VanVleet's gonna be an all-star this season, and things will be fine. But that's the 2K ratings there on that front. The next thing we're talking about is a Fox Sports reporter hyping up the Raptors. So while we may get disrespected by 2K, randomly out of nowhere, Rick Bucher of FS1, who is FS1 seems to never talk about the Toronto Raptors, so I wanted to make a little note of it when they do, because we usually trash on them when they have bad takes. But Rick Bucher came out and essentially did a podcast and discussed the betting odds, who you should be betting on going into the season. And he's saying that the Toronto Raptors are a team you should be betting on, and the Brooklyn Nets are a team you should be betting against. And I've been saying it. I'm notorious on this podcast, breaking down how I think the Nets are always overrated. I'm seeing now that Kevin Durant's back. They're saying, oh, the Nets are going to be great. Everything will work themselves out, as Kyrie Irving still posting conspiracy theories on his Instagram stories. You got Ben Simmons still not playing games at all, right? The drama off the court after Kevin Durant requested his coach and his general manager to be fired, right? Everything's going to be hunky-dory going into next season. The Nets, something always happens to the Brooklyn Nets ever since this cast and crew of personalities has joined together that will just derail their season. They're super talented. They're really good on paper and all that sort of stuff. I'm in agreement with Rick Bucher. I'm dialing it back on the Nets, and you guys already know I'm spending my money. I'm betting on the Toronto Raptors being a top 3 seed this season. And I haven't bet, but I'm betting my ego by consistently saying it out here on YouTube videos. I'm saying top 3 seed. I said top 4 seed last season. We're being a top 3 seed this year, and I'm in agreement with Rick Bucher. Put your money on the Toronto Raptors. So shout out Bucher making those takes. And the final thing we're discussing is the biggest question that the Raptors must solve going into the, for this season. And this is an article coming from Bleacher Report. They said one big question that has to be broken down from each NBA team. And this is what they had to say about the Toronto Raptors. And they essentially their question was, will all core performers get paid for the Toronto Raptors? And they went on to discuss how a topic of discussion that's been on this YouTube channel. Maybe Bleacher Report's been creeping the Raptors Digest in terms of stealing content and all that sort of stuff. Not that I've ever reacted to their content or anything like that. or I'm not doing it right now. But essentially, they broke down how we didn't re-sign Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet. They're both unrestricted free agents, potentially at the end of the season. So will they end up getting paid? And this is why Gary Trent Jr., our star boy, has been in a whole bunch of trade rumors this offseason, because we know how valuable he is. So we know he's going to be getting a bag. So will the Toronto Raptors end up paying all their core guys? I think it's still a question that's going to be up in the air. This is going to be a big topic, especially as we inch closer to the trade deadline, because it would suck for Gary Trent Jr. just to walk for nothing. And he is a valuable piece to our team. So big decisions will have to be made from Masai Ujiri. I think I'd agree with Bleacher Report. That's probably the biggest question that we have to solve over the course of this season. You know, maybe the development, certain guys on the bench. Can we still play without a center? But I'd probably align myself with Bleacher Report in terms of this being the biggest question we have to answer going into next season. And to dive into it would be a whole topic of its own, a whole video of its own. So save that. We've been talking about it the whole summer as well. So save that for more videos. But folks, you guys are the best for making this far. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, all that cool stuff. Anyways, enough of me rambling. You guys are the best. We're on that road to 26,000 subscribers. So if you made it this far, 16 minutes into this video, and you want more Raptors coverage, subscribe to Raptors Digest. Also, bring Courtside Digest back. Marcel and I have we're juicing the vibes on Courtside Digest. So keep a lookout for that channel. Probably making some posts on it there. But anyways, enough of me rambling. You guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.